The ruins of Alacahöyük lie 25 kilometers northeast of the ancient Hittite capital of Hattusa. Although the city is associated with the Hittite Empire, Alacahöyük likely predated the Hittites by at least a millennia, evidenced by the royal tombs unearthed from the first half of the 3rd millennium. Excavations of these tombs have revealed the famous sun disk standard amongst many other items. This evidence of a long-standing peoples and civilization here at Alacahöyük and elsewhere in Anatolia, prior to the arrival of the Hittite peoples, give us considerable insight as to how the two groups integrated with one another religiously. Alacahöyük, a Turkic name, was actually the city of Arinna to the Hittites. The city of Arinna references the sun goddess Arina, which was originally a Hattian goddess and not a Hittite one. The Hattian people were the predominant culture and peoples in this part of Anatolia prior to the arrival of the Hittites. Despite the fact that this goddess was not part of the original Hittite pantheon of gods, the Hittites clearly found her of extraordinary importance. Here in the city of Alacahöyük, or Arina, we see a Sphinx gate of greater stature than that found at the Sphinx gate at the Hittite capital city of Hattusa. In fact, the Hittites paired their own storm god, Tarhuna, with the sun goddess Arina, despite being of Hattian origin, and placed the two at the top of their religious pantheon during the early kingdom period. A prayer by the Hittite queen Puduhepe illustrates the importance of Arina and the goddess's home city of Alacahöyük. Sun goddess of Arina, my lady, you are the queen of all lands. Here we have a lovely deer vase, a deer figurine, and bronze deer standard from Alacahöyük. The deer was sacred to the sun goddess Arina, hence the deer-related artifacts discovered here. Alacahöyük was undoubtedly an important cult center of the Hittite Empire. The personal presence of the royal couple during the great festival here is depicted on the reliefs of the West Tower. The king and queen shown here are standing before an altar at the head of a procession trailing to the left. The altar is next to a bull, likely representing the storm god Tarhuna. The procession contains high-ranking priests, musicians, and performers, and of course animals destined for sacrificial offerings. This relief provides insight into the various components of a Hittite festival requiring the king, the queen, food, sacrifice, entertainment, and of course religious ceremony. It is interesting that despite the vast number of temples at the nearby Hittite capital of Hattusa and the rock sanctuary of Yazlıkaya, the king still had to make an appearance here at Alacahöyük and elsewhere in the realm. This shouldn't come as much of a surprise when we begin to understand that the Hittite king was considered the primary medium between the realm of the gods and the people. The gods were dependent on the offerings of the people, while the people were dependent on whatever personal attribute a specific deity controlled. Countless cuneiform tablets attest to the proper conduct of festivals, the importance of the festivals to the stability of the state, and above all, the presence of the king and queen, or at a minimum, a royal family member. Any calamity that struck the Hittite state was attributed to the gods being displeased during the performance of these religious rites. It was at these great festivals that the Hittite king and queen could best ensure the continued stability of the relationship between the people and the gods. At Alacahöyük, this would have been the all-important goddess Arina. When this relationship broke down, calamity befell the empire, as illustrated in this lamentation from the Hittite king Mursili II. All the land of Haiti is dying, so that no one prepares the sacrificial loaf and libation for you. The plowmen who used to work the fields of the gods have died, so that no one works or reaps the field of the gods any longer. The miller women who used to prepare sacrificial loaves of the gods have died, so they no longer make the sacrificial loaves. As for the corral and sheepfold from which one used to cull the offerings of sheep and cattle, the cowherds and shepherds have died, and the corral and sheepfold are empty. So it happens that the sacrificial loaves, libations, and animal sacrifices are cut off, and you come to us, O gods, and hold us culpable in the matter. Knowing all this, we begin to understand the importance of Alacahöyük. It was the home city of the most important female deity in the early Hittite pantheon, the Sun Goddess Arina, and therefore required a temple of suitable size and grandeur, along with the personal appearance of the Hittite king and queen, to provide offerings to this goddess on behalf of the people. To the Hittites, failing to do so would bring certain misfortune to the state. To the Sun Goddess of Arina, my lady, lady of the Haiti lands, queen of heaven and earth, lady of the kings and queens of Haiti, torch of the Haiti land, you are the one who rules the kings and queens of Haiti. If you enjoyed this talk, please like, comment, subscribe, and check out my other videos on the Hittites.